Welcome to Growth, powered by FareHarbor, where we explore the strategies behind thriving tour and activity businesses. From industry experts to operators in the field, we're diving into real stories, practical advice, and tips for leveraging FareHarbor software to fuel your business growth. Whether you're just starting out or scaling up, this podcast is packed with insights to help you succeed. Now, here's your host, FareHarbor's Community Manager, Rebekah Costley.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I'm so excited to have you. If you're new here, this is Growth powered by FareHarbor, a podcast that partners with our listeners in their growth on the FareHarbor software. Today, I have an incredible treat for us all. I have Rebekah Robinson. Rebekah, you are my name twin, so we have to decide how to refer to each other. I think I can be RC. I will sacrifice the Rebekah for this great episode we have in store for our listeners today. So I will go by RC. We have Rebekah here. Rebekah, what is your new title? I think we really got to give you your flowers for your recent promotion.
Thank you. I just stepped into the Commercial Partnerships Program Manager position, which is a very fancy way to say I'll be working with trade organizations and other businesses that help support our clients. So I'm really excited about all of that and what that looks like.
I love that. Amazing. And then, of course, we have the man, the myth, the legend. We have Cyrus of Anchorage Trolley Tours here with us today, the Chief Experience Officer. Cyrus, how are you doing today?
Very well. Thank you for having me. Thanks for letting me be here. This is such a pleasure and a gift. So thank you. Thanks for all that listening. If you guys get a chance to listen to the rest of the podcast, totally do. I started listening last night and a little in the shower, and it was really insightful. I loved it.
Excellent.
Good. That's a good review. I love that. Make sure to put that in the Apple Podcast review, Cyrus, when we're done
I will.
with this interview. We got a lot to talk about today, but today's subject is centered around seasonal strategies for year-long bookings, getting some insights from Cyrus over at Anchorage Trolley Tours. Rebekah here is my interviewer today. She's going to be guiding us in her long relationship with Cyrus, what they've done together, what Cyrus has taken the initiative to do to grow in Anchorage, Alaska. And yeah, Rebekah, go ahead and take it away. We're excited to hear this.
Awesome. Well, I'm so stoked to be here today. Cyrus has been a great client that I've worked with the last little over 2 years. And I'm always impressed at his strategies and the things that he comes up with. So I'm excited to share a little bit more on what that looks like from your side, Cyrus. So tell us a little bit, what is your story with Anchorage Trolley? How did it come to be?
Yeah. So our parent company is Alaska Guest Tours, Inc. Before we did the trolley tours, my dad did day tours in a van, but he also worked on the North Slope. That's where most of Alaska gets its oil from. And my dad was babysitting me. And back in the 90s or 80s-ish, babysitting meant falling asleep and having the TV on. And I was watching Mr. Rogers, and I ran over to my father and I said, "Hey, Dad, look, a trolley. How cool is that?" Totally woke him up on the couch. And he was like, a trolley. That's different. And then my mom came home, and she was pleasant to see that he was awake and actually watching me. And he said, "Hey, babe, what do you think about doing city tours in a trolley?" And she said, "I love that idea. We just got to pay for it. How about we sell your aircraft?" That's exactly what we did. We sold the family airplane. We flew down to Florida. We had a custom trolley built for us. Custom mean we had heaters put into it, because in Florida, they don't need heaters at all. And then we drove from Florida all the way to Seattle, and then we put it on a barge and barged it up to Alaska. And basically, we started the company on May 4th, in 1995. That was my 5th birthday. And we've been going strong ever since. In fact, next year is going to be our 30th year of operations. And hopefully we get another 30, 50, or 100 more years out of it, because it's an awesome place to work. And tourism is really the best job in the whole wide world. I absolutely love it.
I agree. That's really cool origin story. So my next question is, what is like your most memorable experience with Anchorage Trolley? Is there something that can beat that kind of unique story that you just told us?
I mean, every day is a unique day. I'm just going to tell you the reason why I love my job. And it's like, so at least once a week, we have an aha moment on our tour. You see, Alaska is diverse. And when I'm giving my trolley tours, like I'm a driver as well. Everyone can do everything. We cross-train everything possible in our company because I think the keys to success is communication. And your team members can't do a great job unless they know the job they need to do and what the expectations for success looks like. And so if I'm driving the trolley, I can't answer the phones, and so I have to allow people to do their jobs and help me to succeed. One of our key things that we talk about in our company is it's called leap of faith, not leap of fear. So we hired you, we trained you. Now we just got to trust that you can help us grow together. And one of my favorite parts of my job is at least once a week, I'll be giving the tour and I'll be talking and we drive by West Anchorage High School. And West Anchorage High School is the 4th most diverse high school in America. In our school district, we actually speak over 100 different languages.
Wow.
I talk about that and I talk about how much we love diversity. And they talk about Alaska loves diversity. And because diversity brings new cultures. Cultures bring new people. And people bring delicious new foods to try. And everybody in Alaska loves to eat. Don't you? And then always in the back of the trolley, there's some person that goes, they do make really good food. And they literally just change their tone. I could see them light up and they're just this burst of like, I should stop being so angry about things. It's just beautiful. It's like watching a cocoon, a caterpillar turn into a butterfly. It's just this beautiful thing that happens at least once a week. And honestly, you would never think about a little trolley tour changing people's lives, but we're storytellers at the end of the day. And the reason I love tourism is when people travel, their minds are open because they're not day-to-day lives. And when they see something different or hear something different, they go, that's interesting. Because I remember when I first fell in love with tourism, I was in Louisiana. I was at a hostel and someone taught me how to cut an onion differently. And who would have thought there's a million different ways to cut onions? I did not know that. And I learned that. And I just went from like thinking I know everything to I know nothing. And there's this one quote I love, don't be so right that you're wrong. And so that's why I love tourism. It's every day I'm humbled, by something and by my customers. I mean, I've met so many billionaires in my life. I've met so many wonderful people, and tourism doesn't teach, it teaches us soft skills. It teaches you how to communicate with people, it teaches you how to love people, it teaches you how to do so many things that are not technically measured, by a standardized test. But that's why tourism is the greatest thing in the world, because we're not standard. We're just weird. We're different. We're the best. We say trolleyness. Do they have the trolleyness, to be a part of it?
Trolleyness. I'm going to adopt that. No, it'll make no sense in my life, but I think that's great.
I up in Google, the googliness, you got to be weird.
Trolleyness. That's fantastic. I mean, it sounds like you really love the balance of being an educator and sharing your part of the world with others, but then also you are very open and excited to learn from anybody else that comes across your path, which I think is what's really important in travel in general.
It is. I think that's right. What travel is, though. I mean, like as the world grows in like technology and everything, I think the whole basis is people will never lose their sense of curiosity, their sense of, and that is the base of tourism, is seeking out what can be different and what you can do in life. And it's just, life is beautiful. Even failing is beautiful. It's a gift. Failure is a gift. It'll teach you how to do something differently one way or another.
Absolutely. Such a great perspective. Thank you. So obviously Alaska is known for its somewhat wild seasons and how that impacts tourism. How does that impact Anchorage Trolley? What do you do to work through those seasons?
Yeah, to be honest with you, for the first 29 years, we did not do winter tourism because it's just wasn't feasible, because our tour is just a $25 1 hour city tour. Before that was a $20 city tour. Before that was $15. Before that was $10. Like in 2007, it was $10 a person to ride our trolley. That is very affordable. Very, very affordable. That was also back when we had $5 subs. Yeah, so it just wasn't feasible. And so we had to develop new products, but we had to develop new products that people wanted. And when I said people wanted, I didn't want to just create a city tour, and just do our summer tour in winter. I didn't want to do that. So what I did was I spent a lot of time developing our winter city tour to highlight the winter differences in Alaska. And the first time I launched it, it did not go right. The second time, the third time, the fourth time, the customers liked it, but they didn't love it. And everything in life, you just got to keep revisiting until you find that secret sauce. And then you have a baseline, and then you can just start rolling with it. Last year when we launched this, the Snowzilla is a 30-foot tall snowman here in Anchorage, Alaska. And it was gone for like 15 years.
Wow.
And I didn't realize it was going to ever come back. And to be honest, I have so much stories in my head that I don't remember everything. And I came back literally on like week 5 of giving the tours. And I'm like, cool, we need to print everything. We need to tell people we're going with the Snowzilla because it's a hot topic. It's cool. It's trending. And so, yeah, I had to reprint all of our brochures, literally throw away everything, order more brochures. And it was just a lot of money. But again, life is just a game. You got to keep having fun with it. At the end of the day, why do we do this? We do this because we want to share Anchorage with the world. Yeah, we love it, and we want to do the best job we can. So that's what we do.
Cyrus,
So, yeah.
I actually have a question for you. I think it took a lot. I really like what you said about failure and that it takes failure to learn how to do something better. And I fully subscribe to that theory. What I want to ask you is based on the strategy of that failure. So what questions did you ask yourself ahead of being like, I don't want to just copy paste our summer tours into our winter tours. If there is a smaller operator listening and they're looking to increase their inventory, but they see some seasonality changes or challenges rather, what should they be asking themselves?
First off, can you afford the storm? That's question number 1. You got to check your balance sheet, and you also got to understand why you're doing this. The other reason why we started the Winter City Tour is we one of our good friends, Premier Alaska Tours, they're a huge operator. Basically, they handle all the guests that come off the cruise ship, and they move them all across Alaska. But I was talking to the CEO, Josh, and he's like, Cyrus, how's your transition between summers into the season and then middle of season or middle of winter and then opening back up? How is it to converting people year after year, post COVID? And I was like, actually, we used to have a laundry list of people that would want to work with us. But now, it's not as deep of pool as I used to have. And he told me their strategy, and that's why I love Alaska, is we say collaborators, not competitors, and he was saying that he actually loses money operating all winter because it's easier for him to hire like 50 to 100 people every season than to hire 500 people, and so he'd rather keep and take all the little jobs he can to keep all those people moving and working and just keep a good team year round. And so another reason why we did the Winter City Tours was to hire people and interview them while giving tours, because everyone says they can do the job. But when you are in front of a guest and actually talking to people, like I've never actually fired someone before like 2019 in our trolley company, but we run a construction business and I fire people all the time. But it's really funny. I'm known on the job site as Mr. O. Because when I see something I don't like, I'm like, oh. And then, but when it came to the trolleys, we had just such this huge pool before COVID. And then once COVID came, we're getting over the hump of COVID and hiring people. I would do phone call interviews because I just want to hear their voice. I want to get to know them, see if we're a good vibe. And then I call it 3 dates. It's 3 interviews. First interview, we talk about nothing. We talk about cheese. Second interview, we do a video call. We talk about their goals, their ambitions. Do they line up with Anchorage Trolley Tours? Make sure they're a real person, And then thirdly, the in-person interview. We show them the job, make sure they can actually do the job. And then lastly, we hire them and we put them in the gig. And then after like a week, there was this one girl that was like, I don't like this job. I'm like, you can tell. It's like, I actually don't like talking to people. I'm like, and this is just a sales kid, And I was like, yeah. But you kind of rocked everything. What's going on? She's like, I don't know. This is too busy for me. I'm like, I told you we're kind of like Starbucks, we're very hustle and bustle. She's like, no. And then so we just sat down, we talked about it. I asked her what she really wanted to do, and I helped her find her next career. And now she's thriving. It just wasn't a good fit for us, but it doesn't mean she doesn't have stuff to offer to other people. And so basically, you got to be able to afford the storm. You got to know why. What's your real purpose? And our purpose is always give tours and everything. But again, we really wanted just to get to know new drivers, because our team is only 30 people at max. And that's a really small family in a thing. And so I want to work with everybody, and I want to love everybody I work with. I want them to call me when they have their problems. I want them to call me when they have their success, and I want to be I want to be their biggest cheerleader. I don't want to not love anybody on my team. And so I want to get to know them a little bit. And so that was the main reason is if we're going to grow from 10 people to 20 to 30, I need more time with them as far as the hiring process. Before COVID, there used to be week-long interviews or month-long interviews, for those big corporate careers. And so I was trying to adopt that more and just get to know them, because when peak season hits, this is my crew. That's it. You can't just teach what we do. We have so much information, but in our company, we hire personality and we train safety, because you can't have fun without being safe, but I can't train personality. And so I look for that secret sauce. I look for that thing that makes people interested. I look for that storyteller, and storytellers are harder and harder to find. To be honest, I don't call our team members employees ever. I call them talent. I call them coworkers, but I never call them employees, because at the end of the day, I'll do the job, they'll do it, but I'm here to serve. I'm not here to direct or, you don't ever read about a great dictator, but you read about a great storyteller. You read about a great team member, so I never read about a one person winning. Teams win together. So I want to be a part of a team. So that's kind of the culture we have at Anchorage Trolley. And to be honest with you, I'm not always the best boss. Sometimes I suck at it. I really suck at it sometimes. But, I'm a human, and they're human. And I'm always the nicest when everything is going the wrongest. And I'm most critiquing when you're at your best. Because if I can help you grow by 1% and make it that much better, that changes everything for you, makes your job 1,000 times better if you can just make one little tweak to make it better. And so, they know that. And honestly, I just lead with my heart. That's it. And sometimes it gets me in trouble, and other time, 99% of the time it doesn't.
I had the pleasure of being on site. I think that was, almost a year ago, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I could feel the love in the room. I could feel the culture. And I think that does play a huge part into strategy of a successful business, is the culture and the retention of your employees. And I love that tidbit you said of, you can train safety, you can't train personality. I think that is so true. And anytime I've ever gone on a tour with a FareHarbor client or otherwise, just as a patron, completely outside of my role at FareHarbor, what made the tour was always the guide. I'm there for a reason. I'm there to experience, whatever city or culture I'm in, but it's the guide that really drives that experience home. So I love that. I also really want to touch on strategy. So I think, especially with Rebekah's new role, we'd love to hop into a little bit about partnerships, leveraging partnerships, both maybe corporate partnerships, as well as your local tourism community. So Rebekah, I'll let you steer the conversation from here.
Yeah. It sounds like so much of what you do is people focused. So naturally, I imagine that you work with a variety of tourism organizations and then local organizations to really help boost your business, but then also partner with others, help them grow.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like a year ago, we were doing our hotel shuttle, major failure, huge failure. You think for $5 and we run every 30 minutes, we'd get a bunch of people to and from the hotel all day long. Nope. Over the course of 60 days, from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., departing every 30 minutes, we hauled 808 passengers. It just wasn't the correct thing. However, when we did that, me and Rebekah, for all of you listening, she's also my manager. She's my team lead for FareHarbor. And we kind of developed all these little weird systems, because FareHarbor is so vast. You can change a lot of things to help work in what you want to do. And so we went through and fixed the system, or created the system that we needed inside the FareHarbor. And then we broke it because someone asked a really simple question. And we changed it and we broke it and we fixed, all these things. But by doing that, it allowed us to learn how to use the platform better and how to use it for what we need for each different custom itinerary or whatever. And so this last year, we stopped doing that shuttle, obviously, because it was not working. It was not working for the customer either. Because what we learned was customers, it didn't matter what the price was. It's just they didn't want to wait an extra 5 minutes because they could just buy Uber. And also, training something new is very difficult, to your audience. Because at the end of the day, marketing is just education on a mass level. And so with that failure came a huge success. Because this year, I was literally just talking to the Alaska Zoo about nothing, because we're just literally we were just talking on the phone, making sure they're all geared up for the season. And they just asked me questions. I asked them questions. And I was like, oh, you guys are going to do your shuttle. That's awesome. To be honest with you, the biggest headache with your guys' complimentary shuttle is you can't make a reservation. Man, if you would just let me build out this reservation system for you, I could do it in like 2 hours. And then your guest would have a guaranteed seat on that free shuttle and cost you $0. And because of the way the system's set up, we can actually send a message to the customers afterwards and say, hey, thank you for riding with the Alaska Zoo. If you want to continue your support, please click this button and donate to the Alaska Zoo. We did that all through FareHarbor. The guests could literally buy their tickets to the Alaska Zoo, return to the zoo, all within the FareHarbor link. And also that email went out. And through that, they were able to when they did the zoo shuttle, it cost them all money. There's 0 ways to actually monetize it or anything like that because no one wanted to pay for the shuttle. But by doing the donate button on the backside, it allowed them to raise over $5,000. And it was all through just generous donations through the customers that were going to use the service anyways. And so that FareHarbor is basically limitless, and they're continuing to make it limitless by adding all these extra features and stuff and just making it better and better. So yeah, so the strategic planning for us is just using the product, getting a bit more understanding of how to use it, and then taking those tools and helping ourselves, but also just talking to our community and going, oh, hey, yeah, this is what we do. Really? And so I'm meeting with them next week, and hopefully they'll become another FareHarbor partner and have their own platform. And I can just help them along the way as well. And they love using it, by the way. They only have not a crew member, level, but they have a backend level, and they don't see any of my numbers at all, but we have it set up as the right permissions and stuff. And they say it's so easy. They learned it within 5 minutes, and it was all thanks to Miss Rebekah and being there with my growth, and help me figure everything out.
I'm glad we've been able to work on those projects because it's allowed me to learn different ways to set things up that I wouldn't have otherwise thought. So, and that's one thing I loved about being an account manager, which was the role I was in right before this transition. It's always that collaboration. It's learning from clients. What do they need? Where are their problems? What are ways that we can find solutions? And without that collaboration, I don't think there's as much success. So I think it's been great working with you and other clients just to be able to flesh that out and then pass on things as we move along. So, and I know after the meetup and through the meetup and then other things you are involved with in Anchorage, you've been able to encourage people to look into FareHarbor and work with us.
Yeah. I mean, after that meetup, I was really blown away with one of our other partners. I forget where they're based out of, but I was like, oh man, I love how they're setting their FareHarbor system up. And as I was playing with it, I realized there was a problem that guests can actually make it down to $0 through all their little custom fields. And so I reached out to you directly, and then you reached out to their account manager. And then, I know they were able to fix it really well, but they could have lost a lot of money. And if you're not, it just would have been no fault to anybody. It's how it could have been set up. So yeah, you always got to be sharing stuff so that someone can see how it's done and then give you their 2 cents as well.
Absolutely. So as you're dealing with seasonality and different things that come your way in Anchorage, how do you guys keep tickets flowing? How do you keep that interest? Obviously, cruise season is pretty small. So what do you do in those kind of shoulder seasons where there's less foot traffic?
So we're transitioning to winter right now. And what we're doing is focusing on the customers we have and the customers that are coming to Anchorage versus the people that are not. At the end of the day, people are humans. And so we are studying the flight patterns that are coming to Anchorage. We're studying how long are they here for? We're understanding the behavior of the customer while in Anchorage. Because at the end of the day, what does Anchorage Trolley do? We put butts in seats. That's the basic of it. But how do we get people in those seats? And so the whole goal is to remove as many barriers to that as possible. But you have to, at the end of the day, you have to understand how to make it more accessible to the customer and more cool. You know what I mean? Put the secret sauce into it, make them want to do it, kind of thing. Because once they do it, they're going to have a great time. But you just got to convince them too. But it also fit into their schedule. And everyone has different schedules, but at the same time, they don't. Because why are they traveling to Anchorage? That's your first question. Are they doing it for leisure or for business? If it's their business, what are their times that they have while in Anchorage? Is it from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m.? Is it, you just got to find out what is that. And so at the end of the day, you always got to remember you're always serving humans, and humans have needs. They're on a 4-hour time difference. They have this, they have that. And so that's how we strategize is we focus on the customers that are physically here in the winter months. And that's one of our key differentials. Also, something weird, but in Alaska, it's dark in the winter months. And so we can only give tours. We only give a city tour at 11 a.m. every day during the winter months because the sun will rise around 10:30 and it'll set before 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And to be honest with you, the only things you can really do on a tour is you can see and you can hear. And if they can't see anything and they can't hear anything, then, you can't give a tour. Because you need darkness for aurora, the northern lights, but you need light to see the monuments. And so, yeah, we also don't do aurora things. We don't go into other people's markets. We have a lot of good friends and we don't touch on that unless we think we can do it 1,000 times better. And even then, to be real honest with you, that's why we say collaborators, because we might make more money off of just referrals than just going into it, buying the vehicle, doing this, that, you know what I mean? We could just leverage our brand to get all those phone calls and turn those into customers. And so there's 1,000 ways to cut the onion. And just
how do you, I'm curious what that leverage looks like. How do you leverage those relationships to get those referrals? Is it as easy as noticing, collaborator, as you say, is doing really well in their arena and just picking up the phone and being like, hey, I'm down the street from you. Maybe we should collab, as the kids say. Or what does that look like? How do you make those connections? By
the way, no business owner likes the word collab. That's a young term where, because at the end of the day, collab sounds like competition and people are fearful of competition. You know what I mean? And so what I do is I just call them and I talk to them. I get to know them before I ask for things. Because if you are the person always asking and needing, you don't want to be a taker. You want to be a giver. Mm-hmm. And so for all the years, we've always answered our phones all winter long. And it always blew my mind that I'm answering the phone on December 24th for our little $10 city tour. You know what I mean? Kind of deal. And my competitors, they're unavailable, and they're $200 a person. You know what I mean? It's my phone for a $10 client. You can answer your phone call for a $200, $300, whatever client. And so we didn't do those for all those years because I didn't know how to monetize that relationship. But we built a reputation. And then I was able to leverage my relationship with my customers and then go, hey, this is a good friend of ours. I think you should totally call them and work with them. And now we haven't really leveraged it too hard because I don't want to be a salesperson. I just want to say, yeah, they're good friends. They're a sister company. You'll love them. They're just as nice as us. Everyone you work with is awesome. I strongly think you'll have a great experience. And then we just pass the phone on or we'll text them the link and stuff like that and bada bing, bada boom. But at the end of the day, you just want to help the customer. And if you can make money on the back end, great. If you don't make money on the back end, that's okay too. But at the same time, that customer is going to come back to Alaska and they're going to remember you for helping them. Mm-hmm. So it's all about putting good vibes into it. You don't want to do things for the money always. You do need to make money because you can't be green without having green. You can't affect change without having a little bit of time to invest into things. And so, yeah, I do think you got to make money, but you don't have to make money on every aspect of your business. You can just be kind. That's free, just fun fact.
Absolutely. So you work with quite a few affiliates with different partners and different streams. So how does that look for you other than just picking up the phone or having that conversation?
Yeah, what we do is we try not to bother them. We just serve their customers because at the end of the day, it's their customers and we're just the operator. We try to be an extension of their experience, that they kind of send through. Now, we're still doing Anchorage Trolley, everything, love everything. But at the end of the day, when the customer walks up and there's a stamp FUI with their reservation, we go, no worries. Because if they didn't pay or something like that, and if it's like they pay us or they collect, the operator collects and they pay us later, we don't make it a big deal to the customers. You go, no worries. We'll figure it out on the back end. You're all good. Yeah, we work with again, on FareHarbor, it says who you're working with, it actually even says the advisor's name. And so we work with Jim all the time. It could have just been a click of a button. We'll take care of it. No big deal kind of thing. And then worst case, you just, I forgot to push the little button and whatever, you know what I mean? I think it's just relationships. Mm-hmm. Honestly, that's it. If you have a good relationship, you can talk about anything. At the end of the day, I'm kind of just a mentor to my team members too. One of my team members, she's dating a boy and he messed up. And he walks in the office because, she was working there. And I was like, hey, let's go for a walk. And I'm like, do you know what love is? And he's like, yeah, I know what love is. I'm like, do you though? Because we grew up, I know you're 10 years younger than me, but Love is yelling at someone and being so angry with them that you don't want to talk to them. But in 2 minutes later, after hanging up the phone, their car breaks down and they ask for help and you go help them. That's what true love is. True love is helping them even when you're mad at them.
Mm-hmm.
And my team members taught me that. I was lucky enough to always be around great people. And to be honest with you, I didn't start off that way. In fact, my best team member, used to be my competitor. We were direct competitors. And one day her boss decided to shut it all down. And I was like, hey, do you want to come work with us? You give an amazing tour. I'm really good at sales. Do you want to do this? And she's like, yeah, I do. I love working with you. We're just competitors at the moment. And we were direct competitors because we both did the same exact tour at the same location, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But she always respected how we did things, and we always did things on the up and up. And she just was a teacher for the summer months or for the winter months. And then I was in school in the winter months as well. But long story short, it's just about relationships and making it a win-win for everybody, including the customer. And so that's what we do is we just take really good care of everybody we work with and try to have a relationship. And it's hard to have a relationship with everyone, but if you're just present in the moment, it's easy. Because if you just take on one task at a time, and I mean, I do 50 tasks at once, but if you just, in the moment when you have to make a decision and you have to be right in front of the person, just look in their eyes and go, cool, this is what we're doing. Here you go. And then let it blossom into a complete failure and then just revisit it. You know what I mean? Because you can always revisit and change the course, but don't think it's just dead. Just pick up the phone. It's scary and say hello and say this happened, but I have a plan to fix it and it might not be perfect, but let's do it together. And they go, cool, thanks. And so if they can trust you, they can trust their customers with you, and that's it. Because they're not going to be perfect.
I love that. Yeah. So much of my interest in this particular episode was around seasonality, but I also love the third wheel vibe I get to have right now because I get to hear about the relationship that Anchorage Trolley Tours has with Rebekah and ultimately what Anchorage Trolley Tours, their relationship with FareHarbor. So this question I have is actually for the both of you. I know with Rebekah's promotion, congratulations again. Obviously, that kind of opens a new chapter. So with this chapter kind of closing, I'm curious to know some big highlights in leveraging the software with Rebekah's help in your time with her. And Rebekah, some of the best projects that you've had with Anchorage Trolley, and maybe even a little sprinkle on strategy around those seasonality changes, because it's do we change the whole website? Do I add more photos? Do we change the listings? Is this something I should do all the time? I'm just really interested to know how you two game planned that together. And ultimately, Cyrus, how you leveraged FareHarbor to get more bookings year round.
Well, first off, Rebekah wasn't always with FareHarbor. Before that, she was also a travel advisor. The first thing we did was just get to know each other a little bit, And once we got to know more people, I got to know she was a travel agent. So I was like, oh, really? Tell me more. Because now I knew her background and everything, and then I could fully trust her more and I can open up and be more vulnerable with her. And being more vulnerable allowed her to see the true problems, not just the symptoms. And she allowed me to, what do I really need? What do I need for my customers? And we developed good things together. Yeah, at the end of the day, it's just relationships. Just get to know the people you're working with. And yeah.
Yeah, I think I would agree with all of that. I think it's getting to know, again, what does a client need or a company need? And what's the ultimate dream? And then how can we best mold FareHarbor to match that? So we got to work on the hotel shuttle, which I thought was a great option. I would take that if I was in Anchorage.
That's simple.
But I also understand that instant gratification that we see more and more in tourism. But it was a great opportunity. Even though it didn't work out, it was a chance for both of us to experiment in new ways of setting things up and doing things differently, and also provide feedback to product development and being hey, we need combos, which we now have. So you could do a one-way and turn into a round trip easier. So there were just things that we were able to work on to make understanding it better. Yeah.
Developing the customer journey was, I think, one of the best part of it. FareHarbor just dropped more stuff on the customer journey and stuff like that. I saw that just yesterday, Miss Rebekah. That was awesome. And just helping them understand the customer journey and how we can best steer them into having the greatest success or experience with us. And that was truly it. That's really what we love, is working on those things together. I mean, like learning how to use the transportation side, because I mean, FareHarbor is a massive tool. And honestly, it's getting better and better every day. And honestly, I don't know if you remember, but like 3 months ago, FareHarbor went down. Yeah. The coolest thing about that is everyone then learned about the offline version of FareHarbor, which is an amazing feature. Like I had no idea about it, but then it went from being scared of FareHarbor going down, which is, I mean, I've been with you guys for a very long time now. And honestly, it's only been down like 1 or 2 times, like ever. But now we know we have that offline thing, but that's how much like FareHarbor is built on caring. I mean, it started off as a tourism company that wanted to build something better, and they cared like what happens when it breaks. Oh, well, we got an answer for that. And so, yeah, it's just understanding how to best use FareHarbor and just tinkering and making it better. Yeah, that's how Miss Rebekah has really helped us grow.
Absolutely. And I think I speak for everyone at FareHarbor. Like all of us love to travel. All of us love doing experiences. None of us would work in this industry if that wasn't a big part of our lives. And so for me, especially being a travel advisor agent previously, it helps you understand what are customers looking for? What do they want to experience? How do you take care of people from the time they start asking questions until the time they're actually on the tour, and helping vendors or clients here at FareHarbor really meet those needs. And that's been a great journey for me. And I know pretty much everyone else at FareHarbor feels the same way. Excellent. Yep. All right. A few more questions here. How do you use marketing? You talk about people are coming in for the season. You're not trying to track people down to get them to come to Anchorage. You're trying to meet them at the gates, if you will. How do you get them to come hang out with Anchorage Trolley for a day or an afternoon?
So we're always learning. We're always growing. So we mostly focus on in-state customers. At the end of the day, we're a $25 1-hour city tour. No one buys a bottle of water 6 months in advance. But however, I did just have someone ride our trolley that bought our trolley ticket in 2022 for this. So yeah, what we do is for marketing is we do have a very strong in-person presence, because we're just trying to remind them, oh, hey, by the way, we have that trolley tour here and it runs every 30 minutes. Just go and hop on board. We're just trying to convince them of that. And then when it comes to marketing, our goal for the future marketing is we're going to start getting more into creating videos and things like that. And then just highlighting all the things you can do in Anchorage and how great Anchorage is a destination. Years ago, before COVID, I used to work with the state of Alaska and the city of Anchorage. And they taught me when I would travel with them across the world and promote, they would say, promote Alaska, because the first they got to get to our state, want to come here. Second, promote Anchorage. While you're in Alaska, visit Anchorage. And then, hey, if you are in Anchorage, why not jump on a trolley tour? And so what we're going to be doing, our focus on marketing for like online presence is going to be promoting our city, because we're going to, they're already coming to Alaska. And so that's what our goal is, to be promoting our city. And then we just be a tour guide, that's the end of the day. And we're just gonna be like, oh, these things are so great. Check it out. And we're going to hope that translation of us being a great host will go, oh, and while you're in Anchorage, hop on one of our trolleys. If you love all this added value we're giving you, ride a trolley. You'll even get to see it firsthand. And so that's our goal for online marketing, is just to add value. We don't really just want to spend money. I'm a big believer in, if you have to tell someone you're cool, you're not cool. If you are just giving off that energy, that vibe, people will be attracted to it. And I know our customers because I am one of our customers. I can tell you everything about our customers because they are so cool, and I've got to know them all over the years, and they are me. They're cautious with their funds. They travel because they want to. When they get up here, they are limited on time, because they've worked their whole lives to get up here, but they do want to they're all about value and ROI, return on investment. And so at the end of the day, I just know my customers really well, and I know what they want. And all the other, I don't want to focus on the 20% they'll never get. I only want to focus on the 80% I can work with. So I let those people steer my decisions. And yeah, that's at the end of the day. So that's our plan for marketing for online.
Yeah, it's really connecting with people again on a personal level and welcoming them to whatever you're offering. So I think that's great. And then, so obviously different seasons have different people coming in. You probably have more trolleys or activities running at certain times of the year than others. How do you kind of work inside of FareHarbor to manage that inventory and that booking process?
Oh yeah, update availabilities. Love it. Also, FareHarbor allows you to adjust times. You can say, Like I only want to turn on this or call to book or auto close or whatever by timing from like 3:30 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. Only those tours in that time slot will be affected. Also, you can narrow it down to dates. That's in the filter options in the update availabilities. That's awesome. And then when I was listening to the podcast last night, he was talking about how to do like promo codes and stuff like that. And I was like, that's really interesting because you can run promo codes to only work certain times a year and then also kind of pop up at certain times. So that was really cool. So realistically, you can just show what you want them to see. And then also something we just did for our city tours, our winter city tour, okay? We only have one tour a day, okay? 11 a.m. But what we did was we also did a call to book and we made the customers, I think 1 or 0 or something like that. And we didn't make it available to book, but we put on there private tours in the headline, and call when they click on it. Oh, if the time slot does not work for you, give us a ring and we'll see if we have anything available for them. And that is always on there. And that way the customer pick the 11 a.m. or it already answers their question of, hey, this time might not work for us. Maybe we can do a private tour with them. And so it turns that customer into a no. 11 o'clock can't do it, babe. Split decision of like, wait, babe, they have the private tour thing. I wonder how much it can cost. I just want to go with them, kind of thing. Because now we have vans, we have trolleys, we have everything. But it's just about, again, removing barriers or giving them options that they might not even know they had. And so, yeah, that's another way we deal with seasonality is changing how we talk to our customers at every step of the booking process.
Yeah. So you mentioned a few things. Are there any other tips that you would give someone if they're trying to increase profitability and interest in a slow season?
Yep. So when it comes to profitability, you should always know your numbers. Always, always, always know your numbers. To be honest with you, you got to weather the storm. When you do it, the end of the day, you got to be consistent. Tourism is a referral based, as core. People are going to go on their websites. They're going to do this. And we have a saying in our company, the power of one. And this is a little religious, but I'm religious. Like Jesus changed the world. When you have a customer make a booking for one person, and you only have one person booked, that is it. If you cancel that tour, there's no upside to that except for profitability, because the customer will be like, but I plan my whole vacation around that one time slot. It's all negative talk. Even if you give them a free tour, they're like, oh, I can't make it. I'm only in. But you remember Alaska is also an island. You can't, once you're here, you're here. And so we do one person tours all the time during the winter city tour, because there's only upside for the gratitude that could happen. They'll tell you, oh my God, there's just me on the tour. They did it anyways. And so at the end of the day, we focus on consistency, and profitability is second, because again, we went into this as this is a development, this is R&D, and this is why we're doing it. So it comes back to, why are you doing this? We want to get to know our drivers better. We want to, there's a lot of more reasons. Profitability is one of them. But again, not every tour is going to make or break your whole business. And if it is, you're not doing it right. So yeah, so that's another way we do it, is focus on consistency. Consistency is very important. If people can't rely on you giving a tour, they sometimes are open, sometimes they're not. Even a okay restaurant is going to be more successful than a great restaurant and a terrible restaurant in the same sentence. Sometimes they're amazing, sometimes they're awful, but people would rather just have consistency throughout, in my opinion.
I like that. So are there any trends you've noticed with customer behavior and how you approach marketing or connecting with individuals other than your seasonality?
We get a lot of our business from the cruise ships. And so a lot of people don't realize that you got to get to know your customer. You got to understand their behaviors and what they have available for you, because you don't want your product to be too inexpensive, because people will just go, oh, that's too cheap. And you don't want to be too expensive. But you also understand what's the perfect time slot for it as well. And at the end of the day, it's about human behavior. I would love to give my winter city tour at like 10 a.m., but unfortunately, with the sun rising throughout the whole season of the winter season, I can't give it. It has to be at 11, because I'd rather do it every day at 11 versus 10 a.m. sometimes, 11, you know what I mean? I'm understanding the trends of my customers of how they do it. When it comes to traveling to Alaska, I'm seeing a lot more solo travels customers, a lot more solo. And also I am seeing a lot more last minute rebookings, because they will book someone else's tour and ours and think it's going to all work out perfectly. And then life happens. And that is where we love our trip insurance. Love that. Woo-woo. I was the biggest non-believer. And then I also wasn't fully listening because it's self-based trip insurance. It is not third party, And so, yeah, the trip insurance is great. Honestly, it just, people love to click that little box and it's awesome. And it's a great little add-on. So if you are like working with a travel agent and stuff like that, and they click that little percent, so you're giving 10% to 20 plus percent to the travel agent, but then clicking the little travel insurance, you get 10% back in theory. Now, not everyone is going to rebook or whatever, but it's like a gym membership. You just got to play the odds and adjust as necessary. Like when we were setting it up with Miss Rebekah, the trip insurance thing, we were just deciding, do we want to do 4 hours ahead of time or 24 hours or 5 hours, 6 hours, And so we've played with it many times to find out what will help sell that 10%. And then do you want to do a 5% cost, a 10% and whatever. And at the end of the day, it's just figuring out what customers will pay for it. And you want to get as many people to do it because the number of people that actually use it are very low. And then you also got to make it sweet. People don't want to buy something that's spicy, unless they're looking for, but you know what I mean? You got to make it sweet to the customer. It has to be like, oh, that's easy. Let's just do it. And so you got to make it as easy for them to do. So it's just, again, you got to just understand the product and trust FareHarbor. They get so many ideas and everything. And when they bring stuff to the table, it's literally like, this is the best options. This is what we've been building for a while. And this is why you should use it. And then, yeah. So yeah, we love FareHarbor. Trends again. And Alaska's a little harder because again, we are an island, most of our guests though are all 2. We are seeing a little more singles. This year we saw a lot more families riding the trolleys as well. That was pretty cool. And then the whole airline thing where people can get up here, flying on pilots and stuff, that's kind of gone away for the most part. But yeah, it's everything's, I don't know about trends. I think people are just acting the same and it's going back more and more to normal.
All right. What's the number one thing someone has to do if they come to Anchorage other than take your trolley tour?
Just go outside for the first part, taking that fresh air. There's not just one thing. There's so many things. I would say try our food. Alaska has amazing food. And we have great coffee up here. I would say one thing you have to do if you come to Anchorage, Alaska is allow for time. That would be my number one advice because getting up here is not easy. And then allowing yourself to have room for experiences and actual experiences would be the coolest thing because you don't want to have no time to do everything because everything changes. And so, yeah, just allow for more time. Also, I would just do a little pre-booking, you know what I mean? Or not even booking, you can just do looking and see what's available. And don't do such a tight itinerary, have a loosey-goosey, That's why I would definitely, when you come up to Alaska, definitely have a few key things you have to do and then have a bunch of things you want to do. And then that way you can throw those fillers in last minute. People think things sell out for days and days and days on end. No, we're always adding last minute inventory, always. And you always want to have that last minute inventory available, And so like we have 2 extra trolleys right now just sitting 24/7. A, to give last minute tours. B, for breakdowns because we're a transportation business at our heart. So yeah, we always plan for the failure. That way we can adjust to it and be like, oh, wow, you're all ready. I'm like, yep, we are. But it takes years and years of planning and preparation to do that though. So I guess the one thing you gotta do is just visit Alaska. It's awesome. Everyone's as great as I am. I promise you. It's a really cool place.
Well, it is incredible to hear your passion for what you do for Anchorage Trolley, what you do at Anchorage Trolley, how much you love Anchorage and Alaska. And I know I've seen it with my own eyes. You're a very busy man. So I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. You too, Rebekah. I am so happy to have the opportunity to work with you both on this episode and in the day in and day outs of FareHarbor. It's really a pleasure. And yeah, we went through a lot in this episode. I'm very happy with it. We went through seasonality. We went through marketing tactics. We went through the importance of customer experience from the ease of booking all the way to when they leave your operation. We have a lot of great golden nuggets here. And again, I just want to thank you both for being on. And for the listeners out there, make sure to listen up for the next upcoming episodes. And if you're ever in Anchorage, Alaska, make sure to hit up Anchorage Trolley Tours and be sure to tell them that FareHarbor sent you. And yeah, that's all I have for y'all today. Thanks for being on. And until next time.
Thank you, RC.
Thank you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow this podcast for more.
Review.
Love it.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.